our herbariums, you know, we're on the corner. I'll let Theo talk about the one with the best.
Nature boy.
You'll take it away.
So regarding that text I sent the guy I bought the car from. What happened, our Dustin sent me a text that said, if I don't make it back, I want a Viking tube. The guy from the car shop, we have an approved vendor in the state system for a Viking tube. And he wrote back, WTF. And then I had to explain. There is Dustin with, which crayfish was this one? Spot handed?
No, that's Washita River crayfish.
Washita River crayfish on the morning show on Channel 7.
Channel 11.
Channel 11. Can't keep up with all his media appearances. The other thing I want to talk about here is that lower right picture. You see a massive, and that's about half of it, I think, collection. You know, our herbarium, when we moved to this building, we asked for a larger facility than we needed. And that's because we could foresee there would be a time when some of these university collections and these museum collections of plants would get shut down. And so they gave us generously enough room to really to accommodate. If they all closed, we could barely probably handle the capacity. And sure enough, we may have followed this in the news, but Henderson State University in Arkadelphia has undergone a massive contraction, and they've cut a bunch of their programs, including their entire biology program. And that included the herbarium. They had about 35,000 specimens there, going back almost 100 years. And we were able to get an agreement with their administration, taking that collection. The last shipment arrived last week. It's all in the freezer. It gets quarantined for, every specimen gets frozen for 2 weeks. 2 weeks at 30 below zero, just to kill any insects that might be alive in the collection. Not that there, we don't know that there were any, but probably not, because it smelled like mothballs pretty rough. Anyway, we have that collection now, and we're going to use volunteers in perhaps a little bit of contract labor to go through it all, make sure everything's in good order, repair any damaged specimens, get them databased, and separate. If there's duplicate collections, we'll probably trade those off to another institution. Just to be mindful of the space it takes us. Anyway, that's exciting. Dustin's been doing, we kind of had a decline, not a decline, we've lost some of our capacity for outreach with the shared services, the consolidation of the agencies in the department. But Dustin has really stepped up to go out, go way beyond his job duties and description, and do a lot of outreach work. He's really good at it. And these are just some shots of some of the things he did. This is Historic Cane Hill, which is this great, it's a nonprofit that runs this the historic town of Cane Hill. Is like 200 years old up in southern Washington County. And we're restoring all these historic buildings, and they have a lot of public events. He did a Creek Creatures event where they took volunteers or the public out. Did you snorkel or just catch things? Or
We were gonna snorkel, but the creek wasn't really, it's a little muddy, so we did seining, thick seining, netting, got a lot of cool stuff.
if you want to see some kids light up, go to the creek. Exciting. Also participated in a Northwest Arkansas wetland ecology tour. They had experts in various groups. They had a botanist. They had some did wetland fauna, and this was at Wilson Springs, right? Yeah, Wilson Springs, which is a Northwest Arkansas Land Trust Preserve, and we've been active in assisting with inventory over the years, management, and several other events, the Woods and Watersheds Workshop, Game and Fish, and Department of Environmental Quality. Those are Natural Science Centers, Just Wet and Wild, which Ellen has a lot of, basically founded, maybe, is that accurate to say?
We did it for 15 years.
15 years,
Yes,
yeah.
that's
That's how it goes.
That was snorkeling. We took all those kids snorkeling on the War Eagle Creek. It was a lot of fun.
This is at the Ozark Natural Science Center, which is within our Bear Hollow Natural Area. And it's near the Kings River. And it's a residential, is it a week-long residential
Well, this year we got funding for 2 weeks
Oh.
and just some of you in this group will remember, we used to have a lot of Aegis programs and that stands for Arkansas Enrichment for the Gifted in Summer. So these are really motivated kids who, you know, we have some stories about some of our Aegis graduates like Clark
Yeah.
Mitchell who've gone on and have done some incredible things.
And I used to go and do it for Clemson. It's always one of the best in outreach, you know, but it's so rewarding when the group cares, you know.
Yeah.
There's Nature Boy again.
Yeah,
I
he's-
think it probably went out in a link to everyone, or if not, it will. You just send this to.
Is that on our Facebook site yet?
Well, and you just did another one, Dusty.
Yeah.
he just,
I've been on TV again since then, but it was
That's
impressive.
older. I
Yeah.
believe that one
Yeah,
was
it's
on there.
what was the last one? Because I watched it, but
Last one was on location up at Devil's Eyebrow, and that was with Channel 7. And I just sent these slides in before I could make one for that one.
because that was just a few days ago. You are very entertaining. I mean, very informative, but also you've got a
For a
Got a
nerdy
stage
scientist, for a nerdy scientist,
Got
yeah, and so this is Lawrence the crayfish because he caught him.
Oh, Lawrence, right.
And then this is cool. I didn't get to go, but Bill and I nominated Tom Fotai, who some of you will remember. He was chief of research for Bill, before me, before Bill, and sort of my mentor. And it was a lifetime achievement award called the George Fell Award. This is a big national, international organization of people who do what we do. And he got their top award, and Bill was able to be there and sat with him. He got up and he spoke, which is really something for Tom. He spoke to more than anybody I think I've ever met. And I got to watch Dustin and this put me on Zoom, and I was able to, or FaceTime or something, I was able to watch. I had to be the one. I had Zoom for help, but it was great. Great honor for Tom.
Yeah, we had a good representation at that meeting. I think Theo gave a presentation virtually, which we're hoping to show later. Okay, I gave a presentation, actually gave 2 presentations. Diana gave 2 presentations. I believe that's anyway, so I mean.
Dustin.
And Dustin. Nature Boy. Gave an excellent presentation, so we were really well represented and. So I want to give you an update on our cooperative agreements. This is put together by Samantha Shaman. And then our cooperative agreements to consider for this quarter. Thank you, Samantha, for that excellent presentation. Good job as usual, my Samantha. And next, we're going to turn over to land acquisition. Ron has it on. I'm going to do what I have to do.
So this is what we've been working on most recently. 2 parcels came to our attention a few months ago that were up for sale at Devil's Eyebrow. One on the east side, one on the west side. This one is on the east border, and I'll show you that in a second. It's 93 acres. And we went ahead and did the appraisal process, came in at $470,000. And we're gonna use the rest of our Walton Family Foundation grant, plus money from our NCRC grants and the National Area Tax Fund. And so with this tract, it's gonna extend the habitat, obviously, but also it'll help us a lot with access. So this is an overview of the whole, everything that we have out there, that TNC and getting fish out there as well. And so if you know anything about this area, it's extremely rugged. Posting boundaries out there is rough, but we get it done best we can. But the parking lot is way up there at the top, and there's a trail that comes down. There's all kind of like old logging roads that we can access with the UTV if we bring a chainsaw with us too. And then the trail comes all the way down, kind of circles here, and comes down to the water. So getting over here there's a highway and we can kind of just start across private property real quick to the railroad line, and then we'll be fine. But over here, there's not, you just have to suck it up and kind of follow the little roads and the trail and then go hike. But with this parcel, there's a highway that, or not highway, there's a road that comes in to right here. I should have highlighted that one, sorry. And the owner is keeping this parcel right here. They have in the deed, there's a legal access agreement here. So there's not currently a road, but we could put one in, we could put a parking lot, we could do whatever we need as far as we can put in an access for us to get over here and post these boundaries and not have to go 5 miles down the trail to do so. If we decide to down the road, we could always put in a parking lot as well. And that way, you know, people can join the trail here and go down or something like that. Also benefits emergency services because there are shamefully more people than there should be who will stop, park at the top, hike all the way down the like 5.5 miles, I think it is, to here, and then realize they cannot get back. And so they'll call for help, and Game and Fish or Corps of Engineers, somebody will usually get on a boat and go hike them out.
So Brian, I don't know what happened with this. This had happened quite a long time ago, but some of the emergency services people ask me about being able to get in the gate. So is there a way that they can, like,
The gate at the top of the trail, you
on the
mean?
top?
I mean, if we.
Because I know you,
I remember Brian Rupar working with them.
okay,
Let's
okay.
say-
This is several years ago?
It's several years
Yeah, I believe all that was taken care of.
If we know who to give a key to, we're more than happy to do that. I mean, we give Game and Fish and Forest Commission and all these other agencies who need access. So yeah, I'm sure.
ago. I had forgotten, I did call.
I'm pretty
Brian.
sure that was all settled, yeah.
Excellent, okay.
It just might be an extra avenue for that if it comes to the point where we need it. And then do the close up, so the space between the TNC preserve and the new parcel is just the difference in the error, and there are a lot of deed gaps out there too. I called the county, talked to them about that. So it would simplify a lot of the boundary there as far as posting.
Now, I see that, I mean, is that an error or is that a gap?
That one, I believe, is error. You know, this line's 5 feet off, this line's not 5 feet, but you know how it is. But like the track that I'm looking at on the west side, there's actually a big long deed gap there. And so our boundary lines, when you look at the map, actually cover that deed gap as well. And so I need to get with somebody who has a legal background and see if he can just like absorb that or what do we do with that. Technically, it doesn't want to. Oh, I did do the roads, so just kidding. So the blue is the trail and a lot of the little logging roads that we can use. We need to get around, contractors need to get around. So Emily's been working with a contractor in these areas. So they've been using that little logging road to get out here. And so you can see this road comes in and then there's an access or an easement here. So wouldn't be very hard. And I think the house that she's living in, I think is here, one of those, but. And Bill,
Actually, right now, we need to vote on that.
okay,
Or take questions first.
Well, say I've been there with them and she's talking about some of those roads and chainsaw. Those roads were put in for subdivisions. I don't know how they would have maintained some of the roads they were planning on putting in there, how rugged it was. 'Cause after a few rains, they're almost gone. They had some pretty serious high expectations of roads in that place.
and we keep the trails, we always need a contractor up there who goes through here and there, make sure there's no trees down or something, but all the little side roads, we only, like I said, we go out with a chainsaw, need to cut it out of the way. Pretty good. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah. Any comments, questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept. What vote? Yeah, we'll vote.
I move, I move we accept.
So has a motion, gonna get a second?
Second.
Got a second? Let's get roll call.
Robbie Davis.
Yes.
Todd Harder.
Yes.
Robin Lipton Ingram. Aubrey Anthony. Tammy Browning. Ashley Gillen. Yes. Lucian Gillen.
Yes.
Doug Hart.
Yes.
Deborah Hoofman.
yes,
Jeremiah Moore. Deborah Smith.
yes,
Stanley Taylor. Lynn Turner.
Yes.
Patty Wilkerson.
yes,
Carries, thank you very much.
We'll hopefully be closing on that for Christmas.
This next one's a little different than a lot of things we do. This is the conservation piece that we do in an area that's kind of in an urban setting, primarily in a lot of cases for recreation. This has ecological values too, but not to the level where it would be included in our system naturally. This is not one that we have brought to you before, so I do not have preliminary approval. We have a unique opportunity for funding for this. Secretary Cruz would help provide full funding for it. But the catch is we have to get it done before the end of this calendar year. So we've been really working hard on this. And my original intent was to bring this to you today and ask you to waive the rules, both preliminary and final approval. However, I had a big speed bump this morning, got in and got email from the appraiser, and he said 1 amount of acres. And what I sent out to you earlier was much higher. It was 850 acres, and the appraiser said it was 508 acres. So we had some discrepancy on the total amount of acres. So I think given that we still want to try to pursue it, but we've got to clarify this total amount. And we also need to clarify the by $750,000 for the rest. So I work on that. In the meantime, it's a really good project. So we'll the ecological significance is located adjacent to the Mississippi River. So on the east side of West Memphis, unique and established native vegetation, restore functioning bottomland hardwoods, so they have forested wetlands. And the conservation vision is part of a larger project to restore 1,500 acres of wetlands and promote recreational and tourism opportunities. I'll show you a map of that project area in just a couple of minutes. And of course, it provides unique opportunity to promote our agency. Getting people out to an area, getting large numbers of people out to an area, not having to worry about whether these are sensitive habitats or they're causing problems to species of concern. As mentioned, right now, it appears it's 508 acres or less. There is discrepancy.
What are they getting 990 appraisal value if they don't even know how many acres?
That's from the appraiser for 508 acres.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's.
I mean, is the landowner willing to sell it up for $750 no matter what?
Yes, yeah. He's good with 750,000 regardless whether it's 500 or 850 acres. We've got to clear that part.
Still even 500, if it's going to appraise $1 million, and it's, I mean, I don't know why that would.
No,
I mean,
I agree. And if you wanted to go ahead and do the final purpose, we'd have to do a special meeting later with the caveat that
This many acres is not over this
Secretary
amount.
Hurst is good with this, and if you get the acres cleared up.
Okay.
I'm good with that. And that saved you some time. And I just want to be really clear. I got this as soon as I came in this morning. very unexpected. So working on that. But this will not come out of our budget. Requiring it. You know, acquiring property for our system of natural areas is always a high priority and something like this. We do have in our rules and regs the ability to do this type of business. We have done stuff like that, not very often. We have done it before. And I've asked them in the draft language of the conservation easement that they have all future responsibility, habitat management, trail maintenance, road maintenance, all of that. And you'll see one of the reasons why I'm in the park. It's that large, it's that far from here. We have so many people, you know, we don't need people, we send our staff out there cleaning up trash and so forth. So we would have no responsibility for doing that, and no obligation. That would be their responsibility. So if you're not familiar with that area, it's over by West Memphis, this part of the state. One thing interesting, this is a system of natural areas. Again, you see, despite the Mississippi River being a major ecosystem, we really have nothing over there. Whether it be in our system of natural areas or other tools like this kind of conservation, of course, in large part, that ecosystem is highly defined. So we just haven't really put any time into or investment into that area. But this would be an opportunity to do it. This is the track. Over here on the right is Memphis, and on the left side is West Memphis. And this area right here is the River Crossing Bridge. That's a former bridge used for trucks, cars, and so forth. And about 6 years ago, they converted it to a footpath, bicycle path only. That was about 6 years ago. And since that time, they've had over 1 billion people cross the river, either by foot or bicycle. So it's getting hard. And area, this would be the track that we would get, and the project area, I'll show you that more in a moment, that goes down over here, up, over here, down, over. So it's you know, like I say, it's a unique opportunity to do some ecological protection, and what we would be acquiring are the development rights. So no one would be able to go in and put in buildings and so forth. That's the main thing that we would do. This is a little bit closer up. I think you can see over here, here's a levee. See, there's a trail or a road. Everything's on, what we're getting is just on the side of that. Of course, if you're familiar with the Mississippi River, you floods a lot. You just have to do some flood. Stop flooding. And so that's, you know, this is backwater flooding. See the trees and shrubs poking through there. So this is the typical, what the typical. It just has some permanent wetlands in there. And their goal is to restore that entire tract to forested wetlands. And this is outside of what we did, but you can see some of the attractions to this area. You can see they have this area along the river, and you can see the skyline of Memphis. You can see the river really well. So very attractive place to get people out and get the public engaged in the outdoors, and in our case, get an opportunity to engage in what we do. So we're putting in trails. This is the project area. It's called the Big River Project. Project area is way up here. There. There's several miles. It's sort of part of even a bigger project, but there are other trails, like the Big River, Levee Trail, which is 70 miles, goes all the way down to forest. Within that area, we would be getting is like down here, over here, and then down that and over. So there would be a trail. The trails that are planned are on the south side. And of course, there's an existing levee trail. That's what I have on that. I think it's an interesting, neat, and great opportunity to especially get our word out more about our agency, engage the public, and do some protection. Next on the agenda.
Bill, this is Debbie. Bill, may I ask a couple of questions?
Hey, just a second, let me finish first.
Okay.
So Ducks Unlimited owns the property we be acquiring from them. They will eventually own the entire 1,500 acres. And starting this spring, they would start with fundraising to do the habitat restoration, all of that. That's going to be their responsibility. Being done, it's some of it's former ag area, and they will have the right to do agriculture until they get that. Raising money and doing the work. That's what some staff might hold. That's go ahead, Debbie. Debbie, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Who is giving the conservation easement for the consideration? And what is Duxton?
They're not getting, they'll be selling us the conservation easements. Over in natural areas.
I'm sorry, Bill, I'm sorry, you're cutting out and I can't quite hear you.
Okay, so Ducks Unlimited will sell us the conservation easement. And they would be holding fee title to that. Ducks Unlimited is a nonprofit organization. They do a lot of wetland work.
So
There's a lot of this.
Does DU own the conservation easement now from the landowner and they're selling something that they already have?
Ducks Unlimited owns the property and would be selling us a conservation easement.
Okay. Well, in the financial information, it says the landowner, and it was unclear to me whether there was another party involved in this. So Ducks
That's a good question. Ducks Unlimited is the landowner. At the time I put that together, it was clear.
Okay.
It would remain the landowner. They're going to retain fee title to that. And they will get additional property from other nonprofits involved in this overall project of 1,500 acres. And over time, all 1,500 acres will go to DU. We're only going to be involved in this particular track. So we have good questions.
Okay, thank you.
So the money that's being spent for the conservation easement is not coming out of our budget.
No, it's not. So it would come from the departments. They have from Secretary Hurst and in the central administration, they have a pool of CRC funding, and they would give us money to cover it from their portion of the CRC funding. So it would not come out of what we have budgeted. So this is costing us nothing anyway, and would cost us nothing in the future.
Because we don't have to maintain it.
We don't have to maintain it. And, other than we might want to, say, we want some interpretive signs, other than what you're putting up with us. And so that's not.
I get it. This is kind of a no, given that it's kind of a no-brainer. I think if this was actually coming out of our budget and we were foregoing some other project, a prairie land or bottom land to do this, it would be like, this is outside what we normally do. But given what you just explained, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't just
I agree with you.
accept.
I agree with you. In fact, they first approached us about this in 2015. And at that point, it was coming out of our budget. We said no, they approached me, several months ago, a year ago, the same thing. And we can't do it. It's a lower priority, great project, but it doesn't rise to that high priority area. And then there was some more talk about it in the last few months or last couple months. And I'm sorry this is such a rush job, but it is a unique opportunity to utilize other available funds to do something that helps restore forested ecosystem and get our name out there more honest.
Well, I'm good with it for us. I'm not 100% clear why the state of Arkansas would pay DU for a conservation easement on property that is undevelopable and can only be farmland or wetland. But that's their, as long as it's not our money. We don't have control of their budget, so.
Yeah.
And I guess they want to connect to Big River Park, do trails and all that stuff. Is that their goal?
I mean, this is a large recreation area, right? So looking at the overall area, we want to be part of it. It's a long-term vision. They've also made a lot of progress. So really, where they're going next is start raising money for the restoration, which will be a long-term project.
Speaking out of total ignorance, I surmise that this is a situation in which Ducks Unlimited can move quickly and get something done that it takes a bureaucracy longer to do. And so, like stepping in behind the Cossatot by the Nature Conservancy, and then you come along and do it out. And by giving money to Ducks Unlimited for this, they can turn around and do it. So it's, I suspect that's the pattern of behavior, I believe.
Bill, explain to me why it wouldn't be included in our natural areas, as it says in
So
there.
it does not meet the criteria for the system of natural areas, does not have those. I don't have it in front of me now, but
I understand. That explains it. One other follow-up on that, do we have anything else out there like
Similar to this?
Yeah, similar to that.
yeah, so we had the hog farm, you all remember that? Lease.
Okay,
We have a
okay,
long-term
okay.
leases, so also one of the things we can do, it's outside the kind of the typical stuff we do. We can enter into leases. We have a 99-year lease with Stuttgart Airport on Tallgrass Prairie Habitat. We've done some urban initiative. We're with partners at that site. We have some wetland conservation easements on the Cache River with private landowners. Those are not within our system of natural areas.
We have one on the Petty G as well, Main River.
Okay.
So, and I assume those were inherited in that.
We have a 25-year lease.
Nothing new.
So this is something we have some history doing, but we don't do it as much. The limiting factor is money, is that most of the money is either going to go to new natural areas or take care of our system of natural areas. Those are the higher priorities.
Great, thank
We have
you.
limited funding. Very high priorities.
If we have the easement, or if we get go ahead and approve the easement, do we still have the right to tell them what they can and can't do?
No, we will not have that. We will not have the rights to tell what, a lot of easements we get, we can do, but there are things in there that they can't do. It'll be spelled out in the conservation easement. So we will monitor every year to see if, we'll go out there once a year, are they sticking to the terms of the easement? So they're going to be using native plants and so forth. They'll be restoring these forested wetlands, those type of things. There are certain things they can do. Now, they do have the right to trail roads to get in there. They would have the right to maintain those, which the right to maintain those is really important. Right? With every trail, road they put in there is going to have to be. And that's another reason why I wanted that language. We have no liability. That is not such a long.
I remembered one more easement that we have. We have an easement over the Ozark Natural Science Center, the campus and the property around it. That's not, it's separate from the natural area, even though it's adjacent to Bear Hall.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know how long you're on about.
I could lose 300 acres. in
It's kind of hard to figure.
Yeah.
So, I'm telling Robbie, granted, working with our person continues to be great to work. This is a rush job, we're trying to do this and get it done before the end of the year, that's this call. Especially for a state agency. To get that done. So we've got things lined up. This was a unwelcome when it came up this morning. So actually, 850 acres is the number we've been working on. This is what he provided me. I don't have shape files for it. And I did not measure it. But the appraiser says 508. I measured this, it's about 620. This morning after I got that word, and the original word was 850. So I think there was another track over here somewhere adjacent to it that perhaps they decided for certain reasons they did not want to cover. And we actually tried to work on this last June. There was some available funding. That's a really good turnaround. But the big deal was in their planning efforts, they did not want to be handcuffed to what they could do. Because they've got to be able to restore the habitat. They don't have exactly they need the flexibility of that. Exactly where these trails, the ability to restore these trails, enhance these trails, and so forth. That is now handled with draft language. And still meets what we need. That's where it is. So again, I'm fine with considering just preliminary approval. To suspend the rules and vote for both preliminary final approval with the caveat that we need to know exactly the number of acres and we need secretary. I'm sure we were doing that.
Any more discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion to go ahead with final and preliminary and final, as long as all the caveats that need to be met are met. So
So you have to vote on suspending the rules first, and then we can vote on.
first, we need a motion to suspend the rules.
I think that's a vote for it.
To suspend the rules.
I make a motion, we suspend the rules and approve the preliminary and final in one vote. Second.
Okay. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, then we need to vote, since it has final approval, I have a voice.
Okay, well, we need another motion.
Yeah, I guess you have the motion.
Well, we approved it. Now we need a roll call vote for the final approval.
Robbie Beavis.
Yes.
Bob Hart,
Yes.
Robin Lipton Ingram. Aubrey Anthony. Amy Browning. Ashley Gillum. Lucian Gillum.
Yes.
Doug Harton.
Yes.
Deborah Hoofman.
Yes.
Jeremiah Moore. Deborah Smith.
Yes.
Stanley Taylor. Helen Turner.
Yes.
Patty Wilkerson.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you.
So we have 3 management plans that were submitted to the commission. For these updates to the management plans, all 3 were considered not substantive or required for review.
Then management plans are for Hall Creek Barrens, Kingston Prairie. We've updated editorial changes for the next 5-year cycle. Current FY 23 through FY 27. We've also updated supplemental documents such as maps, species lists, and community sections as needed, and those are attached. And those are approved management plans, and I can. No questions. All right, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Another question or discussion, we'll make a motion to approve things presented.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, there we go. Got a motion second, all of them in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Budget update.
We've been doing a good job of getting a lot of these spent. Good shape as far as on conservation tax or general revenue for this time of year. We want to point out on our NC nursing fund, shows that we've done very little, but since this time, we completed the acquisition for the Ghost Beard Bluff, and so that's gone from less than 25. This was a reminder, there are 2 grants for our very good grant. Short of it, are there any questions on that? Not, that doesn't require a vote. Now, I will,
Morning, this is Steve Witzel with the Arkansas Natural Heritage Commission. Good to speak. Natural heritage inventories as planning tools for natural areas protection. And I'm going to sort of use as an example the first ever county natural, which are done in extreme northwestern Arkansas in 2 counties at once. And these are Benton and Washington County. These 2 counties are the north 2 counties in the state that border Oklahoma and county borders Missouri. They are within the Ozark Highlands, the Ozark Plateaus, and Boston Mountains level 3 ecoregions. And they're also notable because they're the fastest growing counties in Arkansas in terms of the human population. The most rapid loss of biodiversity. So really, these are the 2 highest priority counties. What are county natural heritage inventory? Well, these are targeted reports, and in this case, GIS products as well, that are sort of tailored to the educated public decision makers, municipalities, conservation organizations, people working for conservation ends in the region. And they address sort of 4 basic questions. What are the biodiversity of these counties? Where are the most ecologically sensitive or highest priority ecological?
So when we bought the house, one of the
What are the
things we
best remaining
budgeted
opportunities for conservation, which may or may not?
budget.
And how does biodiversity overlay with other open space planning? And they're based largely on natural heritage programs. And these are, of course, are examples or localities for animals. If you're zooming into that heritage data, you would see something like this, which show the specific locations. But these represent the occurrences of these species. They also allow us to go in and design conservation these clusters of element occurrences, or even individual element occurrences in some cases. And we've been using and other conservation partners like the Nature Conservancy for decades, but we've kind of done it with providing that information that could be used, and that's what the county natural heritage inventory looking to address. Our county natural heritage inventory take a little different approach than most of the other ones. We looked at some excellent ones from Pennsylvania and others, sort of as models, but we've sort of added our own twist to it. Ours have, there's a summary of the natural history and ecology of the counties. This is sort of written in layman. It's accessible to pretty much anybody with an interest who's, got some basic education on the topic. And there's a comprehensive species level biodiversity summary. That's essentially a set of county checklists that are vetted by experts. There's a detailed section on the rare things, or the species communities of concern in the counties. There's a section on threats to biodiversity, and then there's this sort of on the ground guidance provided by these sites of high conservation value. They're sort of one of the products of the inventory. This is just an area showing the level 4 ecoregions of these two counties. I'm getting into that much. One thing to know about these two counties is they historically had a lot of grass. They were definitely parts of them that were forested historically, but a lot of them were open savanna and prairie. And that's an important thing because a lot of the impaired biodiversity is really in those open, historically open communities. They're still open today, of course, they've just been largely species. One of the sort of basic products we're doing here is to try different natural communities or vegetation types, habitats of the region. And this is sort of going into the inventory, the best product we had, some Department of Joint Venture. There is a finer, a little different approach being taken statewide in Arkansas right now. And these two counties are being done as part of this inventory. Another interesting thing that we're with ours is to go and bring in the historical ecology, historical ecological component to the inventory. And by doing this, and by doing all of this, we have a very small staff, so we're actually bringing in the different species group for the inventory. So we actually have a historian who specializes in ecological history working with us on this section. So we've gone back and sort of dug through the historical literature, the original land surveys, settler accounts, correspondence, various different things, looking at there's a lot of rich quotes about how it was open savanna and prairie historically, talking about the original fauna, the full complement of species was there in the early 1800s. Great accounts of bison being in the area. I'm trying to read too many, but I do love this. That the bison paths were still numerous, leading mainly from one lick to another. Their heads were scattered all over the prairies, one perhaps to every 3 acres of land. A lot of references to these salt licks or bison licks in the prairies in that region. One thing I personally worked on is digitizing natural features from the original land survey plat maps from Louisiana purchase of this area. You can see this buffalo that was mapped. Also prairies, they mapped a lot of prairies in the region and we digitized those, which is an excellent resource. Those are in green with some blades I'll talk about in a minute as part of the mapping rules. We also dug into the museum. Historical records. In some cases, the only records of species of concern in the state are from historical specimens from the grasslands in these two counties. Things like this Skinner's Falls foxglove and Washington hawthorn. This species actually was relocated to the field, so it had been seen in the region since the different groups that are being given this sort of deep treatment, this deep inventory. Again, referencing the museum record, referencing the published literature, referencing field work that the contractors are doing. There's vascular plants, birds, mammals, fish, reptiles, amphibians, crayfish, mussels, karst, obligate, invertebrates, butterflies, moths, bees, grasshoppers, plants, lichens, fungi, and some other arthropods. Just an example, this is one of the sections that was produced here for the inventory. So there's an overview section sort of summarizing the situation with birds, the status of birds as a group in the counties. There's data sources and gaps, sites or habitats of high bird conservation value. This is an example, just an example is using plants, but it shows the format for the general checklist. There's, of course, common and Latin conservation status ranks, which regions they've been documented from. And every species is documented with a voucher specimen or observation specimen, trying to really have, or in some cases for birds we do that, but it is a vetted checklist. It's heavily annotated. This is just a screenshot of there. You can see all the voucher specimens or size. Species of conservation concern. We is given a more detailed paragraph length summary treatment that gets into a little more detail of threats, habitats. This is when it was last observed, that sort of thing. This sort of made more difficult by the pandemic hitting. We were really getting off the ground in early 2020. Work that year, staff and contractors, a lot of contractors couldn't work. Museums wouldn't let them in. They couldn't travel. We were under sort of as a attempt to kind of keep things going. Started these biodiversity. It turned out this was a major, well, it was a major time commitment, but it was also a major source of good information. Real quick, I looked at this yesterday. 100,000 observations between the two counties, documenting over 4,000 species in each. Of course, it's a lot of the contractors are. I've looked at thousands of plant records. We found some great additions that we had no idea. To make a hybrid, and this species in Arkansas, it's a very rare species, G1, and we had no records for Northwest Arkansas except for two herbarium specimens from the 1800s. These were the 4 records that we had in the heritage database, sinkhole ponds across the Ozarks, and then concern occurrence, but also, of course, it was in a depression wetland that we didn't know it was 2 for 1. We also, during the pandemic time, used some of the funding for this to process a massive backlog of data contained in specimens. We had a couple thousand specimens from Washington County in our herbarium heritage program. And we also worked on processing the data from other specimens. And that was everything from digitizing the labels to mounting specimens, getting all of that work. We also started herbarium labels from the mountains, and Anna Soteropoulos, our statewide digitization coordinator and botanist for the Natural Heritage Program, led this effort, and a project that's Northwest Arkansas. There's actually 3 different, they call them expeditions. Also hosted some transcription workshops in Northwest Arkansas for perfect timing, because then they were able to work through the pandemic. Diana, colleague and myself, published this paper in the Journal of Diversity, specifically talking about how we use digitized herbarium specimens and iNaturalist. It's pretty good paper. If you're looking for more information on the topic, This is the citation. This is a flow chart figure from the paper that gets into kind of how we were able to bring different biodiversity data for different records, either on naturalist or the herbarium digitization effort into the tiny natural area. LiDAR imagery also revolutionized this project. This became widely available in Arkansas during the early part of the study period. And I personally spent hundreds of hours probably interpreting LiDAR data in the project area and beyond. But it has been amazing for mapping communities. You know, we have heritage data, but it's just a fraction of what's out there. Most areas haven't been surveyed. So these are likely to occur in addition to ones we already have in the database. It's a very rare habitat in Arkansas. We were not glaciated, so we don't have ancient ponds, but we do have some of these karst features, and they're full of species of concern. The way we've traditionally mapped them is to find the larger ones on topo maps. They'll show on topos. They don't show this at all. And we would historically look at aerial photos and try to say that looks like it might be a single pond. We would go sort of map it as see if it was really a natural pond. With the LiDAR imagery, however, we can look at these and see features like this particular pond. We know right off that's an artificial or human created pond. Photo. It's quite different, and it's on a place called Pond Mountain on the topo, which immediately gets my interest. But then it's very much a natural depression. There's no burn on. As part of this project is the mapping of karst features, sinkholes. This is all sorts of different features, and of course are very important for the various biodiversity. We have a lot of single G1 to G2 species in some of these karst areas, and of course endangered are everywhere now. This is just one example. This is on a state natural area, Devil's Eyebrow natural area, where we've spent many weeks of work in the past, and we completely missed this major karst feature. It didn't show on the topo maps, but it stands out like a sore thumb. We made many great discoveries for some targeted field work after the restrictions were lifted. Things we found on the LiDAR, we found through aerial photography. Species of concern, we found new rare habitats like these fens and spring runs, and species new to the state, even like this American brooklime, and new, like this mosquito fern. I've been from aerial imagery, so rates, very good. Also assessing prairie restoration potential. Features of the grasslands in this region are prairie pimples, or these mounds, also called nebkas. These are ancient wind-blown dunes that indicate an area has never been plowed. It's historically grassland. They don't occur really east of the Mississippi River, but they're a major feature. Sometimes they stand out on a specific aerial photo like this one, but other ones are see. But the LiDAR really our eyes to these. We're able to map areas that will maybe be heavily degraded, converted to in some cases. So these lets us provide information on where restoration efforts might be targeted. Cliffs and talus communities, we've mapped the big ones historically from topographic. With the LiDAR, wow. You can really, this is a game changer for finding features like talus slides, cliffs, and it lets us really precisely map them. We can also, if you look on the right-hand side, map ancient historic landslide communities that are now over that really show up on LiDAR, but not. Described natural communities like these Ozark shale barrens. We're able to map the glades from aerial photography. This shows different types of glades in the counties, in different regions. This is the Ozark shale barrens community, ancient old growth post oaks and chinkapin oaks. Time and wrapping up with some more of the just photos of some of the interesting species and communities that we found. Spring-fed oxbow pond was an undescribed natural community in the Ozarks. A rare example of a chert prairie, some really rare plant species. We found many of plant species for the counties, including many new. These were all found by botanists working on the project. New occurrences, dozens and dozens of species that she found new occurrences for. This particular cactus was new to Arkansas. This is the round hat prickly pear in Texas. Lots of great bird discoveries as well. Dustin's talked in the session about some of the rare fish and darters up there. So in addition to, just to close up, in addition to the sites that we'll be identifying and land protection, we're also conservation strategies. The development in this area is so rampant, the land values are so high. Traditional position is not a viable solution to many of the. So we have different other things as we want to secure protection in these places. Also in other areas, there's just management, salvage and relocation of rare species, especially of plants, restoration and management of sites already in conservation, and of course, as everything, a lot of education and outreach. I'd like to acknowledge our funders, the Walton Family Foundation, the Arkansas Department of Parks, Heritage and Tourism, and the Natural Heritage Commission and the Department of Heritage. Thank you.
Recorded presentation indicated the attributes very well received. I feel Dustin and Diana were all in the same session.
I got tired just watching.
With that, we're going to other listen. Thanks for those questions. Our next meeting will be February the 8th on a Wednesday again, and let's explain what's going on here. Room, it's now booked. As far as the board is going to know, first Tuesday. Sometimes the Wednesday is party. Consider our upcoming Arkansas Natural Cultural Resources Council grant.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Any opposed?
We have lunch over here. So we get no lunch. We're going to go to lunch. Or you can follow us. It's a great match over there, Thank you.
You.
February 8th.
You can say that.
Recording stopped.
3 years